The purpose of tonight's presentation is to go over the 21-22 Fafsa that will be available here shortly in a couple of days on October 1st. The application for financial aid for the next school year. So we've certainly got a lot of time. However, we always encourage students to get their application in as soon as possible to maximize their opportunities. So October 1st, this week is the first day you can do that. And tonight we're going to talk about how to prepare to complete your FAFSA application. Now, tonight, the information that we're going to go over is going to be relevant to any college or university that you may plan on attending, whether it's Blackhawk College, another school, if you're thinking about transferring next year, whatever your situation may be. Much of what we're going to go over tonight is applicable to any college or university with some specific BHC examples along the way. So, all right. So as you're planning for college, you or your parents may have questions like, how much will it cost? Can we afford it? Where do I get help? Or you may not know what questions you should be asking. You just know, I need to be doing something. So that's kind of what a night like tonight is for, to kind of help narrow the path, let you know what direction to be going in. So we're going to help you get some of those answers tonight with some basic elements of financial aid, which starts with understanding what college costs. So the cost of college can vary greatly based on a variety of decisions that you, the student, make. Which college will you attend? Where are you going to live? How long will it take you to finish your degree or certificate program? These kinds of decisions can make a big difference in the overall cost of completing a degree or certificate program. In addition, there will be enrollment decisions that you will make each semester that are going to impact your costs. Each semester, you'll decide how many classes am I going to take. You'll need to know if those classes have fees, what books and supplies will you need. So there are a lot of elements that go into what college will cost. Ultimately, once you understand what those costs are and you have your financial aid information, you will be able to compare the two and figure out how much college is actually going to cost you. The cost of college is often referred to as the cost of attendance, and many schools will provide this information online or in a financial aid packet that they share with students. So the cost of attendance is certainly helpful, but it's important to remember that it is an estimate. It helps you ballpark the price tag of college. However, for many students, some of their actual expenses will differ from this estimate. Their cost of attendance may be higher or it may be lower. So some items to consider when determining your cost of attendance. You're going to want to look at the tuition and fees for your classes, consider what your living expenses are, cost of books and supplies, transportation, and other allowable educational expenses. Now, some of these costs will be billed directly to you by the school, such as tuition and fees for your classes. Some other costs, though, may be indirect, and it might depend on what kind of school you go to. At a four-year university where you live in a residence hall, your bill from the college might also include housing and dining. Whereas at a two-year community college like Blackhawk, our students do not live in a residence hall, therefore their housing, rent, and utilities are not billed by the college. But that is a living cost that they are incurring while they are enrolled. So it's important to know what your actual costs will be, either directly with the school or indirectly along the way, as you budget and plan to pay for college. If you plan on attending Blackhawk, you can calculate your actual costs using the tuition and fee information that's available online at bhc.edu/tuition. A lot of newer students might be asking, what exactly is tuition? When you enroll in a class, you are charged tuition for each credit hour that that class offers. The average class is 3 credit hours. For the current school year, students who live in district receive our lowest tuition rate of $149 per credit hour. So if you're going to do that math, 3 times $149 means the average class would cost $447. Now, if you're uncertain if you live in district, you can use our district map and then confirm what tuition rate is appropriate for your location. In addition to the tuition that is charged for a class, some schools will also charge fees for each credit hour you enroll in. That is not the case at Blackhawk. Here at BHC, we charge fees per course individually. Some classes have no fees, others do. You can find a list of course fees online at bhc.edu/tuition. So the good news at Blackhawk is that after you register for classes, your actual tuition and fee charges for that semester will be calculated for you. And that information is available to view on My Blackhawk. So this helps you confirm what your billed expenses are going to be for that semester. But don't forget, beyond those direct billable expenses, you will have indirect expenses like your textbooks, your cost of living, and other items. So make sure you identify and track what your budget looks like, what costs should be included for you each semester as well. So once you've identified your costs, you will then want to compare that information to the financial aid that you are qualified to receive. So when you are applying for financial aid, know that there are a few different sources that you'll want to consider. So the 2 biggest are the first 2 listed here, federal and state government financial aid. Now you can apply for the largest, most common federal and state financial aid programs by completing the Fafsa, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. These programs are administered by the U.S. Department of Education and here in Illinois by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. Now, certainly they may have some smaller programs that not as many students qualify for. Those programs require a separate application. Don't forget that the college or university itself often offers its own financial aid to its students. So it's a smaller pool of applicants. However, that college or university aid, that institutional aid, often requires an application separate from the FAFSA. The financial aid office on campus at your school is often the best place to get started. Certainly the FAFSA is what we recommend as your #1 step, but if there are other campus resources, the financial aid office can point you in the right direction. Finally, don't forget about outside or private sources. Outside associations, corporations, philanthropic groups, they often have scholarship awards that they make to students. They determine their own requirements, award amounts, often have their own applications, and often have their own deadlines. So that's something to also make sure that you would need to do separately from the FAFSA, is actively going out, researching, and seeking those types of scholarship opportunities. Again, the financial aid office can be a great place to get started. They can point you in the right direction. At Blackhawk College, our foundation offers scholarships to Blackhawk College students on their website as well. They also point you to some online scholarship database resources, which can be a nice place to go and seek some of those outside scholarships. So it's also important to know that not all financial aid is equal. Some financial aid can be considered better than other kinds. So there's 2 basic types of financial aid, what is considered gift aid and what is considered self-help aid. So gift aid is considered free money because it never has to be repaid by the student. It is a gift to you. and that's often awarded in the form of grants and scholarships. Grants are often awarded on the basis of financial need or a student's limited ability to pay for college, whereas scholarships are often awarded based on a student's merit, such as academic achievement, athletic ability, some other kind of attribute that the student may have. However, sometimes scholarships can be a combination of need-based and merit-based qualifications. So the second type of aid is self-help aid, and it requires the student to take a bit more responsibility for their financial aid funding. Self-help aid includes work study, which is essentially a part-time job where a student works, earns a paycheck, and uses that paycheck to help pay for their educational expenses. So your investment is your time and your work in earning those funds to help pay for school. Student loans are also a type of self-help aid. Student loans are not free money. Student loans must be repaid. That means student loans are your money. When you repay those loans, you're repaying them often with interest. So do know that loans are an option. The federal government provides student loans with low interest rates and a variety of repayment options for students. So if additional funds are needed to help pay for school, student loans may be an option to consider. Again, though, because it is money that you have to repay in the future, we encourage students to borrow as little as possible and only for absolutely necessary expenses. If you do choose to borrow, know that you do not repay student loans until 6 months after you graduate or drop below 6 credit hours of enrollment. So if you're ready to apply, you can complete the FAFSA online starting October 1st at fafsa.gov. Now remember that the first word in FAFSA is free, and you should never pay for assistance to apply for financial aid. The FAFSA needs to be completed each year that you want to be considered for financial aid. So when you mark your calendar for October 1st, make it an annual reminder so that each year it pops up and reminds you, time to get my FAFSA done. Again, the sooner you get it done, it maximizes any opportunities that you may qualify for, plus it gives you more time to complete the process and often results in less frustration. But before you get started on the FAFSA, there are some important questions to ask that are going to help you get prepared. So these are some common questions that can often be a source of confusion for many students. First of which, am I dependent or independent? Now, the FAFSA will help you determine if you are a dependent or independent student. The key here is knowing that the financial aid definition of dependency is different than the tax-related or personal definitions that we may be familiar with. So unless a student is 24, is married, provides majority financial support for a child, is a veteran, or meets one of the other dependency requirements, the student will be required to provide parent information on their FAFSA. This can be true even if the parent does not provide financial support or will not assist with college expenses. The FAFSA will ask you a series of questions to determine your dependency, but you can learn more online at studentaid.gov/dependency. Another common issue is knowing which parent a dependent student should report on their FAFSA. So only biological or adoptive parents should be reported, not physical custodians, not legal guardians, not grandparents, or any other individual that the student may reside with, unless that individual has formally adopted the student. If the biological or adoptive parents are separated or divorced, the student should report the parent that they lived with most during the past 12 months. If they happen not to live with either parent, then they should provide the parent who provided the most financial support during the last 12 months. Finally, if that parent has remarried, the student should also include their step-parent's information. You can learn more about which parent to report at studentaid.gov/dependency. So if you are a student with special circumstances that prevent you from providing parent information, know that there are additional steps you can take to still complete your FAFSA. While you're filling it out, when you get to the parent information section, you can report that you have special circumstances and still submit your application without any parent info. At that point, know that it is critical that you contact the financial aid office as soon as possible so they can help you identify your options and next steps for completing your application and determining your eligibility for financial aid. Lastly, there are a variety of eligibility requirements a student must meet to qualify for financial aid. The FAFSA application will ask questions to determine your eligibility, and you can learn more about those requirements at studentaid.gov/eligibility. Undocumented students and transgender students who are disqualified from federal financial aid should be aware they should not complete the FAFSA. Instead, if they are Illinois residents, they have the option to submit the alternative application for Illinois financial aid. This will allow them to be considered for state financial aid programs only. This application will ask questions similar to the FAFSA, so the guidance we're sharing tonight still applies. So once you're ready to sit down and complete the FAFSA, make sure that you have all of your required documents with you because you'll be asked to reference that information throughout the application. For dependent students, this means you will need both your information and your parent with their information as well. Now the FAFSA will ask for tax information from 2019, as this is the most recently available tax year. However, know that if your family's financial situation has changed significantly since 2019, you can contact your financial aid office to make them aware. The financial aid office can help you identify steps to account for these changes and potentially adjust your FAFSA information and then your resulting financial aid eligibility. When collecting your required documents, you're also going to need your Federal Student Aid ID, or FSA ID. This is required for you to submit your FAFSA electronically. It is the student's username and password, but is also considered your legal electronic signature. Parents of dependent students should also obtain an FSA ID so they can electronically sign the FAFSA before it is submitted. Now, if you're unable to obtain an FSA ID or choose not to, know you can instead print a paper signature page at the end of the FAFSA. You print the paper, physically sign it, and then mail that in so that the FAFSA can be processed. When completing and signing up with your FSA ID, make sure to keep your FSA ID information in a safe place because you will need to reference it each year in order to complete the FAFSA. Both students and parents will always use one FSA ID, both when you go to complete your FAFSA, but then also as you go to check your financial aid history information online or apply for a student loan. Or if you're a parent with multiple students in college, you will use your one parent FSA ID to sign the FAFSA for each of your students. So, on average, completing the FAFSA will take 45 to 60 minutes, so plan accordingly. If you're an independent student, it might take you a little bit less. If you are a dependent student, know that both you and your parent should be present when you complete the FAFSA. As you complete the FAFSA, you will step through a series of questions about the student, their enrollment plans, parent questions, and then your financial information. So some things to keep in mind as you go through. Make sure in the school selection section that you list any schools you are considering attending next year. Even if you think it's a stretch, I don't know, I probably won't go there, still list them on the FAFSA. You can list up to 10 schools. That way, your information is sent to the school, ready and waiting if you decide to follow through with an admissions application. If you later on realize, you know what, I think I'm gonna pivot and go to an entirely different school, you will have to log back onto your Fafsa, add that school, and resubmit to send it to them so that they can process your eligibility information as well. When it comes to the financial information that you will be asked to provide, we strongly encourage students and parents to take advantage of the IRS data retrieval tool. It's very nifty. What it does is it allows you to link up with the IRS and import all of your data, answers to those tax questions directly into the Fafsa. This reduces the likelihood of errors. This reduces the likelihood of needing to submit additional paperwork to the financial aid office, and it can help expedite your completing the Fafsa. Know that not everyone is allowed to use the IRS data retrieval tool. For example, someone whose marital status has recently changed may not be able to utilize the data retrieval tool because it cannot retrieve all of the necessary information. However, many people can, and so we encourage you to try if possible, but know that you will still want to have your paper tax documents with you for reference. You will need to enter some of the basic information from your taxes into the data retrieval tool in order to achieve a successful database match, and then import all of that data into the Fafsa. Once you're ready to submit the Fafsa, again, parents without an FSA ID will want to make sure that they print a paper signature page. When you get to the signature options section, the bottom left offers other options to sign and submit. You'll click there and select the paper signature page. Print, physically sign, and mail to the address provided. But know that if you are planning on attending Blackhawk College next year, you can instead submit that paper signature page to our financial aid office, and we can submit electronically for you and help speed up the Fafsa completion. So once your Fafsa is successfully submitted, what happens with all of that work that you did? So to determine your financial need, the U.S. Department of Education uses a federal need analysis formula that was established by Congress. What that means is all of the data that you entered into your Fafsa is going to be put into this formula to generate a number. That number is called your expected family contribution, or EFC. Now know that the EFC is not the amount that you will pay for school. Instead, it is a kind of index number. And this number allows us to know what kind of financial aid you will qualify for and how much. So once a school has initially reviewed your Fafsa and your EFC, they will send you notification regarding your application status. Those notifications go directly to the student, and most schools will communicate primarily through the student's college email. So know that if you are looking at 3 different colleges next year and sent your Fafsa to 3 different schools, you will have 3 college emails that you should set up and be checking regularly for updates. Also know that in addition to the Fafsa, some schools will require institutional applications similar to the Fafsa. This is pretty common with private colleges. At Blackhawk, we do not have an additional form. Once we receive your Fafsa application, we will send you a response letting you know whether or not we need any additional information. Once a school has all of the information that is required, they will determine your eligibility, send you a notification again at your school email, letting you know what financial aid you qualify for. You will want to compare your financial aid eligibility to any cost estimate that you have to determine if your financial aid will cover your bill in full or if additional funds will be needed to help pay for school. Also, don't forget to apply for scholarships. That's something else that you can start doing this winter, next spring is scholarship season. And those are going to require applications separate from your FAFSA. However, getting your FAFSA done is a helpful part of many scholarship applications and is often required. So do your FAFSA early, but don't forget to do separate scholarship applications. So you can learn more about the financial aid process at Blackhawk by visiting our website at bhc.edu/financial aid. Just scroll down our main page and we have a lot of helpful overview information to help remind you what to expect. Again, all notifications at Blackhawk are sent to your My Blackhawk email. We tell you to check this email regularly. That also means during the summer months when you are not enrolled in school. Our notifications for the upcoming 2021-22 school year are going to begin in April. So you'll do your FAFSA now this fall, and then you'll have a period of waiting for our notifications to start in April. If we contact you and request additional information, please make sure to complete that request prior to July 1st. That helps ensure that your financial aid can be processed in full before the payment deadline and before school starts. When you submit documentation to our office, make sure to include your student ID number and allow 10 business days or 2 weeks for any status update to be sent to your My Blackhawk email. And again, don't forget about scholarships. Another thing that you can be taking care of this spring while you wait to hear about your financial aid is to complete the Blackhawk College Scholarship application. It will open March 15th and will be due May 15th. So for some students, financial aid may not cover their bill in full. Know that if that is the case, the student is responsible for making personal payment arrangements for any remaining balance by the payment deadline each semester. You can find more information about payment arrangements and deadlines at bhc.edu/payments. Students who require additional funds to help pay their balance can consider applying for a student loan, like we mentioned earlier. And you can find out more information about student loans at Blackhawk at bhc.edu/loans. So a few additional tips and reminders as we wrap up. Remember that your FAFSA will be completed each year that you attend college. So if you are going to school for 4 years, you will do the FAFSA 4 times. So set your reminders and set them each year. If you are new to FAFSA and still have to create your FSA ID, or your parent doing it for the first time, it is critical that you use your own cell phone number and a non-school email. This way, if in the future you need to reset your password, retrieve your information, you have access to the accounts that will be used to assist you in resetting your FSA ID or password. Also be aware that students can only receive financial aid at one school at a time. Sometimes students say, well, that's weird. Well, occasionally a student might take a couple classes at one school and a couple classes at another school. Doesn't happen that often, but if you find yourself in that situation, know that only one school can pay you financial aid for the classes you are taking at that school. So make sure to plan accordingly. Don't forget to set up your college email accounts for each school you are considering attending. And again, check those accounts regularly, even during the summer. And at Blackhawk, we encourage you to finish the financial aid process, start to finish, everything done, know exactly how you're paying for school, budgeted your financial aid and your costs. Get that process finished before July 1st. So typically, Blackhawk will host FAFSA completion events on campus each year. This year, we will still be offering completion events, but we will be offering them in a much smaller setting, smaller groups of people with limited attendance to allow for social distancing. We will also be providing a variety of virtual completion dates and times as well that you can get assistance online, one-on-one. You can visit bhc.edu/FAFSA for a list of these FAFSA completion opportunities, along with a variety of other resources, helpful handouts, our financial aid checklist, different videos to kind of help walk through different parts of the financial aid process. One thing to note when it comes to our on-campus FAFSA completion events that will be offered this fall, each student will be limited to 2 guests with them on campus. Again, that helps keep groups small, allows for social distancing within our computer labs. Registration is required for all of our FAFSA completion events, both on campus and virtual. So make sure to check back at bhc.edu/FAFSA soon. Also know that we partner with the ISAC Corps. They provide college access and financial aid support in our local community. They are a great partner. Courtney Reeder is our local representative. She can help you with your FAFSA completion assistance, questions that you might have, so don't hesitate to reach out to her as well. And finally, if you have any technical difficulties with your FAFSA or FSAID, maybe you have a late night FAFSA questions outside of our business hours, you can contact the Federal Student Aid Help Center. They are open late. They also have a convenient chat feature on their website. You can shoot them a question and get your answer. So currently the financial aid office is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do know that this is subject to change as we progress through the end of the semester. So just make sure to monitor campus access information online. Our business hours are posted on our website. Know that no appointment is needed to stop by financial aid and speak with someone, ask your questions. However, if you are looking to speak with someone specific, a specific financial aid advisor, you should call in advance to make sure they are on campus that day and will be available. You're welcome to contact our office at any time, phone, email. In addition, please utilize our FAFSA completion resources online. Whether you are planning to attend Blackhawk or a different college or university, we're here to support our students and the students of our community. So don't hesitate to reach out, and we look forward to helping you with the FAFSA completion process.